How do you determine the right action?
You got to start asking yourself what, where, when, why question. How am I going to do this? Why am I doing it? And you got to get really clear on your motivation. And then you got to layer in accountability, because it's not just about figuring out what the right action is. Because if I ask that guy, I say, hey, what should you do if you want to be a real estate investor? Probably he can tell me I should buy real estate, because that is the right action. We pretty much can deduce pretty easily. If you want to be a real estate investor, you have to buy real estate. That's the most logical right action.
All right, welcome back to the Live 100 podcast. Super excited to have my friend Jeff on the podcast today. Jeff, it's been a minute, but it's really good to see you again.
I think it's been like a couple of years, actually.
I want to say 4. Yeah, 3 might be it, but I know in person it's probably been 4 on that part. And I believe at some part, I want to think we were still all locked up in COVID. We were doing, our daily podcast, and that might have been the second we did it. So, but
yeah, it might be during COVID that we did the podcast. I know I saw y'all like one time after COVID, but it's been a long time.
Oh man, it goes so quick, right? But it's good to be here.
5 years ago now.
I was thinking,
I mean, it's 5 years.
Because you're in Chattanooga. I'm actually in Murfreesboro. I don't even know if I told you that. We got here, and we're coming up on 5 years in the end of, or right in the beginning of December, right? Yeah, and it goes that quick. Just get here. So for everyone listening, if you don't know Jeff, Jeff is, as he says, a recovering attorney. He is a seasoned real estate investor, which we'll speak more to that. A speaker, author of No Bad Days, which is just an incredible way to live your life, how to make every day great. Specializes in mid-sized multifamily investments, co-founder of Old Fashioned Real Estate, Mahoru Catamarans, and the Extraordinary Life Mastermind. You would think I get Mahoru right and I got extraordinary wrong, but you think I flip them around. A community helping people design and live extraordinary lives. Jeff's got a really unique philosophy. Inspired thought plus right action equals extraordinary life. Couldn't get better than that. He guides his approach to business and investing, personal growth. He's completed hundreds of real estate transactions, spoken on stages around the world, and is on a mission to create 1 billion good days. And beyond that, he just got engaged. So Jeff,
did, and
that is awesome.
That was a good day. So it could be.
That is awesome. Well, good for you, man.
I only need 999 million more or whatever.
You know what would be helpful is that we all have bad days, right? Until we say we have no bad days.
That's right.
So you give us this in theory, how you've transitioned from having life that was not ideal to a life that's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually gave up bad days when I was 17 and I'm 47 now. So it's been 30 years, 3 decades without a bad day. So I know it works because I just did it. And I mean, it's not like bad stuff hasn't happened to me during that time. There's been plenty of craziness. I've had 2 different cancers, a divorce I wasn't expecting, some other health scares, a bankruptcy, like lots of challenging things happened during that 30 years. But at the same time, I didn't have any bad days. And it really works like this, Jason. It's like somewhere in the world right now, someone's having the worst day of their life. Somewhere else in the world, someone's having the best day of their life. So we know that today is objectively neither good nor bad. It's just how those individuals are perceiving the day that's doing it, like how they receive it. And then the second part of it is recognizing that, like, once we know it's how we think about the day that controls that day, then we can take like the Hal Elrod quote, right? Like Hal Elrod says that the moment you take full responsibility for everything in your life is the moment you can change anything in your life. I think of it as a combination of that and then the Kenny Rogers, like, deal the cards you're dealt situation, It's like good and bad stuff's going to happen to me. I know that for sure. I'm going to focus on the good stuff as much as possible, and I'm going to deal with the bad. Because you can't ignore it, right? Like, if I ignored the fact that I got leukemia, I wouldn't be alive right now. I had to deal with it. It was my responsibility, using Hal's terminology, to deal with that, but I didn't have to let it ruin my day. I could say, hey, you know what? This is going to be something that's going to be challenging, but I'm very fortunate because I have access to medical care. I can figure this out. I mean, even like when I went bankrupt, which was a direct result of my leukemia, a lot of people were like, oh man, that must be really hard. And it was hard. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But also it's probably like the best day of my life. Like that day, I didn't find out. The day that I filed bankruptcy, I was like really nervous, honestly. Like, even this is ironic. I was a bankruptcy attorney at the time. So I had filed hundreds of bankruptcies. This is 2009 and 10. And, the economy was collapsing. But then I was off work for a while and I just built up this huge amount of debt. Like, my law firm cost $7,000 a week to break even. And all the income came from me, right? So when I was bringing in $10,000 a week, it was fine. But when you're bringing in zero and you have this $6,000 outflow, it adds up pretty fast, right? And I sat down in front of this bankruptcy trustee and I was looking at him and I was like, man, this is the worst luck ever, because there's like, this is kind of a long version, I apologize, but there's like 5 different bankruptcy trustees in the district at the time. And there was one that I definitely didn't want to get. So I hired her to be my attorney so she would be conflicted out.
There you go.
Like, we're past the statute of limitations now, so I could say that. That's the reason I chose her. And then, anyway, I didn't do anything wrong, so it didn't matter. But I didn't want to deal with her. Like, I was just like, I mean, I wanted to deal with her, but I wanted to deal with her where she was on my side and not against me, right? And then the other one was this guy that I drew, and it's a random draw, but I was like, I have only a 1 in 4 chance of getting the bad one. That's pretty good odds. I got the bad one. And I was like super nervous. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be horrible. And I'm sitting there, and he started his thing. Like, they had a little recorder. They asked the same questions. It's all very familiar to me because I sat through it 100 times or whatever. And he stopped his recorder, and he looked at me, and he said, Jeff, I'm really sorry you're here today. And I went, holy crap, this guy's got a heart. And that day was like one of my harder days. And that little moment right there, like, for whatever reason, it resonated with me so much that it made that a good day. Because it's all about finding that little thing in the day, because there's always something good. And, it turned out to be my best day, honestly, because that's when I decided to get into real estate. I was always like, someday I'll invest in real estate when I have more money, like after I get out of law school, all this stuff. And that day I went, well, listen, I don't know if I'm going to be able to work again. I don't know what's going to happen financially, but I do know that I need to figure out how to make money, even if I can't work. So 2010, bottom of the market, broke, terrible credit score, negative net worth. I did what every sensible person did. I just started buying real estate. No one else was buying real estate, but I was buying real estate. And because of that, I get to live an amazing life now. Like, went from literally negative 100,000 net worth, bankrupt, student loans, still surviving bankruptcy, to retired in 6 years. Because I took a ton of action. I just one deal after another.
How do you go through your day? Do you actively seek out this, or have you trained your mind just to have that thought pattern going all day long?
Yeah, it started, I kind of skipped over that, so I apologize. It started with a choice. I'm not going to have any more bad days. I wrote about this in my book. I was literally in the bathroom with a knife and holding against my wrist, and I went, this is so stupid. Now, I'm lucky I thought that. Like, I was, obviously, this is like teenage angst, right? It wasn't like real suicidal thoughts, and people are having that. They need to get help, like call a suicide helpline or whatever. But for me, I had this knife on my wrist, and I was like, that kind of hurts, and why would I want more pain instead of less pain? And I went, my life's really not that bad. Like, I had broken up with my girlfriend, and my parents were getting a divorce, and I had all this stuff going on in my head that seems really insignificant to me now. But I just went, this is dumb. And I threw that knife in the trash, literally threw it in the trash. And I said, today I'm going to try to have a good day. That's what I said first. I don't recommend that. I actually think it's better to say today is a good day, or I never have bad days, which is what I do now. But I literally just said today's a good day like 10 times to the mirror. And I made a promise to myself that every time that I was feeling off, I would say today's a good day, and I would try to find something positive. And it worked. This is like, this is in the mid 90s. So it's like before YouTube, and I didn't know who Tony Robbins was, and affirmations and all that stuff. But that's really what it was. It was really just today's a good day, affirmation, repeated hundreds of times a day, until one day I walked into a 7-Eleven at like 2:00 in the morning. Guy behind the counter says, how you doing today? And I go, I never have bad days. And I went, holy crap, I haven't had a bad day in a long time. Like, it had been like several months, and I realized that I wasn't going to have bad days anymore. And then that created belief, because I realized it was working, and I just kept doing it. It's like a muscle. You just build it up. Pretty soon, I got diagnosed with melanoma a few years ago, and I was like, oh man, a second cancer, that's not good. But my very first thought was, that's not good. My second thought, which happened almost simultaneous to the first one, was, this is going to make a great story on a podcast someday. Like, because my mind is so good at looking for positive in everything that I just happens automatically. Tony Robbins calls it the reticular activating system. But what it really is that your mind defaults to the familiar. And I have friends who, like, I think they could win the lottery and, maybe get a hangnail on the way to cash the check, and they think it was a terrible day.
Worst day ever.
Oh man, I got a hangnail. Like, this is horrible. I just do the opposite. I just plan on focusing on the positive. And I could talk about this forever, but there's a ton of neuroscience behind it, actually.
Yeah, the reticular activator is really powerful because it's pattern recognition, right? And wherever you put pattern recognition, it's very, 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 very affirmative, because you can put it in bad ways and you just see more bad, but you put it in good ways, right? It's like,
it's just the neural pathways that you use most often fire faster. So the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's the same reason why once you learn a skill, like speaking in English, it's really easy, but you try to speak in Spanish, it's really, really hard. Like, even I've been working on that for like 3 years, going back and forth to Puerto Rico. I hired a tutor, do 2 hours a week, and I'm like barely competent to speak in Spanish, like I can almost order a soda or something.
You know what I've seen with the reticular activator, which is always interesting, is like, you ever go buy a car and you're like, I'm going to go get a black pickup, and then all of a sudden there's a million of them on the highway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, what just happened? Right? And you use that in your same way with no bad days, right? Like, if you look for good days, you find good days. And why is it so difficult for people to just take responsibility?
Well, we're actually fighting our natural response mechanisms here. I mean, in fairness to people that haven't figured out how to do this, like, we have a natural fight or flight mechanism, right? This is why the news is always negative. It's not that the world's that bad. It's that like they want to get our attention, and the way you get our attention is you get a reaction, and the way you get a reaction from people is you scare them or you get them mad. Like, those are the two things that we react. So, something happens and our body, our natural response to it is, should I run away or should I fight? Like, that's our natural
aside, my mom goes, I wish the news would stop scaring me. I said, just stop watching the news.
I stopped watching the news so long ago, and I'm happy about it. Like every once in a while, someone will text me and be like, oh, can you believe this happened? And I'll be like, no, but, well, like, wait, what? But also, what are you even talking about? This Charlie Kirk thing, right? I'm a relatively conservative person. And I mean, I started watching his videos after he got shot, and I was like, man, I kind of like this guy. I feel bad he's shot. But somebody texted me, oh, Charlie Kirk got shot. I'm like, I don't know who that is. They're like, it's Turning Point. I'm like, I don't know what that is. Right? I'm a conservative, and I never even heard of this group. Like, because I don't care. Like, I'm just living my life, doing my thing, like, trying to be happy.
We get so busy living everybody else's life that we forget to live our own, right? And you get stuck in this pattern where you're constantly watching and basing your responses, right? Like, I see people that their whole day is ruined by the weather. And it's like, the weather is like this unpredictable pattern that you wake up and 30% of the year it's raining and you're going to be upset. It's like...
Actually, there's a book. It's called Hardwired Happiness. It's by this neuroscience PhD guy. It's like really deep, and I don't recommend people read it. But if I were to summarize the whole thing, it's literally that. If you just make the choice to embrace the positive, so like, you walk outside and the sun hits your face, and just stop for a second and say, man, that sun feels good, right? That automatically starts training you to feel better. But the corollary is also true. If you walk outside and it's raining, you can be like, oh man, it's raining, this is terrible, my day. Or you can say, so good that it's raining, because that means the plants are going to grow and the grass is going to turn green and it's going to save my water. I mean, you literally just got to convert the experience, because like, the thing is, stuff happens. It doesn't happen for you or to you or because of you. It just happens. Some of it is objectively better than others, but much of it is just how we interpret it. Like, getting leukemia, no, I won't recommend it to people. It's not fun. Like, it's not a great idea. But it was, in my case, probably one of the best things ever, because I wouldn't know you. I really wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't be coming on podcasts. I wouldn't have written a book. I wouldn't have talked about. I'd be living a completely different life. I'd be a happy person because I'd already given up bad days, but I would be a bankruptcy attorney with a television commercial. That's what it would be. I know that for sure. That was the trajectory I was on, and that wouldn't be that fulfilling. That wouldn't give me the freedom I have now.
Perspective is so interesting, because like, we always want to have like our perception of other people and our perception of how they view us. And I think of it like my dad, right? Like, my dad, when like, my son's 11 right now. So when I was 11, like, how my dad, like, the challenge he was facing, and you always think of these things in like time of how you feel about it, but forget to look at it from other people's lenses, right? And we get stuck in this pattern where we're choosing all of our responses based on what we think is other people's realities, but it's our take on their realities. And when you get back to there, just to be into your point and say, you know what, let me think through their lens, because then it actually makes it better for me because I understand it fully instead of me just trying to choose what I want to think about their reality.
And I mean, and that's definitely true, but there's also objective differences. Like if you're a farmer and your crops are dry, and especially I have a friend who's 50 years old, lives in Tanzania, East Africa, and he has a 1 acre plot where he grows corn. If it doesn't rain, he doesn't make money for the year.
Yeah, wow.
Like we're here going, oh man, it's raining, it's ruining the world. And like for him, if it doesn't rain, it ruins his world. Like literally ruins his world. Like he makes a few $100s a year off of this. And that's like it's not livable, but he has some chickens too. So he does okay. But like John, like he needs it to rain.
Yeah.
If it doesn't rain, it's a really big problem. Like one dry season and he's done.
We've gotten this pattern where like your rush is always to get out of the environment, right? You're always rushed, like, because you rush out of your house to get into your car, right? You get in your car to get into the office building. You get out of the office building to get to the gym or to the restaurant. You miss that time to just be outside. And when you are out there, like even if it's just a couple minutes, that's why, people talk about like getting up right in the morning and trying to go to sunlight. Like when you have that come into you, right, that energy, it just changes your whole aura in a way that it just makes you feel better.
Listen, it's my number one starting of the day habit. I don't have a very strong morning routine, but I have one thing I do. I get a cup of coffee and I stand in the grass bare feet. I want contact with the earth. I want the air, the sun. No, I will miss it once in a while. I'm traveling or it's raining really hard or snowing or something. I might skip the barefoot part. But if I can get outside every morning, my life is better. Even if it's like 10 minutes, I don't need to be out there though. And I've taken now to also going outside at night and have, like, if I'm going to have a cocktail, it's like, if I'm going to make a cocktail for myself, my rule is I have to be able to go outside. Like I'm not going to sit in my apartment and watch Netflix, and drink a bourbon. If I'm going to drink, I'm going to walk outside and do it.
When you think of the other path now, if you've gone from a part of no bad days, which gives you the better life, but now you go into the extraordinary life, right? So inspired thought and right action. How are you identifying, right? Because thoughts on many points, right? And one of the biggest things is that when you're like yourself, myself, right? We're full of thoughts, energy, action, all idea. But there's a million people that are working a full-time job, right? That are miserable in what they're doing, but have all these grand ideas about what they want to do, but they're always missing the next piece, the right action, right? Maybe they have a thought of action, but how do you determine the right action?
I would start with first, like, you have to decide what that inspired thought is, right? Assuming that someone has that inspired thought already, then there's a process for that. But like what we always tell people is, first thing you need to do is just expose yourself to more ideas, right? Opportunity is always there. Period. It doesn't knock. It waits for you to grab the door and force your way in. That's the reality. So that's the action side of it. I say, listen to podcasts, listen to other people's perspectives, get around people doing cool stuff. That's the starting point. And asking yourself really good questions like, what's something I can do right now for the first time? Like just try something new, right? Like things like that really help. But then once you have that thought, let's just say you want to be a real estate investor. I know from my experience, there are lots of people that have that thought that go to real estate meetups. They're taking some action. They're getting business cards, websites. They probably have a hat with their name on it. It says Jason buys houses or whatever, but they never buy real estate. Like I know one person, I went to this real estate meetup up in Michigan, and I used to go to it years ago. And I go back to this meetup. I haven't seen him in 10 years. And I'm like, hey, what have you been up to? I'm getting ready to do my first deal. I met him at a real estate meetup 10 years ago. He just came through the best time to buy real estate in the history of humanity, practically, right? Like it was crazy good the last 10 years. The last 2, maybe not, but before that, it was crazy easy to make money doing this. He didn't find a deal. But he didn't find a deal because he wasn't taking the right action. He was taking some action, obviously, going and putting himself in the right environments. You got to start asking yourself what, where, when, why question. How am I going to do this? Why am I doing it? And you got to get really clear on your motivation. And then you got to layer in accountability, because it's not just about figuring out what the right action is. Because if I ask that guy, I say, hey, what should you do if you want to be a real estate investor? Probably he can tell me I should buy real estate, because that is the right action. We pretty much can deduce pretty easily. If you want to be a real estate investor, you have to buy real estate. That's the most logical right action. But he didn't have the accountability to do it. He's just like showing up at these meetings and talking to people about it and acting like he wanted to be it. And he's getting some personal value from it, obviously, or he wouldn't be showing up there. But he's not becoming a real estate investor. So you had to layer in some accountability. And that's actually why we started the the extraordinary life stuff. Like we do these events where we take people and put them in a room, but then we help them come up with a plan, and then we pair them off and say, hey, this person's going to bug you. Make sure you get it done.
Yeah. The actual chunks is the biggest piece right there that you have to focus on, right? And the accountability is huge too. It just gets to that part, like he wants to buy real estate, but you forget there's 100 steps to buy real estate. You have to build the momentum with the first step, right? So what's the first step? What kind of real estate? A house. Okay. What kind of house? A house under $200,000. Okay. Where's the house? It's in Southern Michigan, right? Wherever it is. Okay. What are you going to do with the house? Because then it makes you feel like a pattern. It's almost like that Field of Dreams. If you did it backwards, like, right?
And you get that, and then you start looking at those properties, and now you have clarity on what you're looking at. And sometimes like I call it the next action, right? The next most important step. I need to come up with a better way to do it, but I actually had this. So I want to hike the Camino Santiago. I don't know if you know the Camino Santiago. No. This is the thing I want to do now. I want to do the Camino Francis, actually, which goes from Port Said in France all the way to Camino, or to Santiago in Spain. And it's about 1,000 miles. It's a big hike. It's 1,000 kilometers, so it's 700 miles, right? But I mean, it's like a full month of hiking, and it's flattish, and you stay overnight in like essentially things that are like hostels. So it's not like you have to camp and stuff like this. This isn't like the Appalachian Trail. This is just like pure go for a walk 10 miles, 15 miles, stay in a hotel, walk 10, 15 miles, stay in a hotel, but just repeat it over and over. But I think it seems like a really cool thing. So this is an inspired thought to me. Like I want to hike the Camino Santiago. So then I was like, I've been thinking this for years though, and I make no progress at this. Like ever since I came back from Kilimanjaro in 2020, I'm like, I need like another thing to do, and this is what's been in my head for 5 years. I started researching. I watch YouTube videos, like learn as much as I can about it, and that is actually some level of action. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a quote I always use. It's like, the difference between successful people and those who never succeed is that successful people take action without all of the possible information.
I have a layman's term called figure it out mode. You don't know how, but you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, it's the Richard Branson. Screw it. Let's do it. Let's just go figure this out. Started like learning about the thing. And I at some point I was like, I'm not making progress. What I realized was I just need to pick a date. Like, I'm going to go this date. Like, that's the step, right? Like, if I put it on the calendar, now I have to do it, right? I haven't done that yet, so it's a bad example. But then I thought, I don't know. It's like, I got to clear a whole month, right? So I'm like, I'm working on it. So I was like, I'm not making good progress still. So what I did is I went over to REI, and I bought Darn Tough socks. These are like $35 socks, right? I'm like, I'm going to buy Darn Tough socks because that's what everyone says you should wear on the trail. And you know what happened when I bought those? I'm looking around like, ooh, those shoes are kind of nice. So then I went and researched shoes, and then I went back and bought shoes. And then I was like, I need a backpack. I went and researched back. Now I got all this crap that I need to do this trip. So now I know I have to do it, right? So like literally buying a pair of socks increased my odds of actually doing this like probably 100-fold.
Yeah. You put yourself in the environment, right? Because you start, it's like that little thing, Shawshank Redemption, where he's got the little rock hammer and he's just going through the wall, like little, right? And we always want the extraordinary today. You want to be at the end of the trail, but the same part, you think about the end of the trail without all the parts, you're going to spend 50 miles a day for 700 miles on the journey. Yeah.
If you don't start, you're not going to finish. But also, if you start without like actually doing the process, you're not going to finish either. So you have to accumulate this equipment, the knowledge, the skill. And I started walking every day too. That's the other thing. So like I said, like every night, like I go out and walk for a half hour outside if I can, if it's not raining. Treadmills are fine, but like I want to be outside. It's not a lot, but it's just a little bit, walk every day, create some motivation. But so we'll do it. And now I'm telling about it on a podcast. That's another thing. Cause like when we talk about the no bad days thing, it's like, look, check this out. So I got a cup, right? I don't know, people might not be watching, but this cup says no bad days on it. I got my book, right? No bad days. I got these tattoos on my arms. They say no bad days in Spanish and Swahili because like I want to be fully into no bad days. It's the same thing with anything. If you want to be a real estate investor, you got to identify as a real estate investor.
Yeah, you put alerts, you put on constant reminders, constant things in front of you. Like you really don't think it makes a big deal, but it makes every deal because every single time you have it, if you constantly have it in your pure view, no matter where you go, it's on your phone saver, like it's just in front of you at all times. it's hard to break free of that.
It's actually impossible for me to have a bad day, I think, at this point. Like, I really do, because like I've so thoroughly identified myself with it. I would feel like a fraud if I had a bad day, right? I'm like so leaned into it. And it's like, if you want to be someone who climbs Kilimanjaro, like I climbed Kilimanjaro in 2020, right before COVID, right? I know you know that, but maybe other people don't. But in order to do that, it was really freaking hard. And I was not in the best shape. I'm still not. I mean, I didn't think I was going to make it. In fact, the porters were betting I wouldn't actually. They weren't telling me that. They were being all encouraging and stuff. But when I got up to the top, they radioed down and I heard the response and they were like, really? like, are you sure?
That's amazing.
They really didn't think I was going to make it. They're looking at me like, there's no way this dude's going to make it. And I was just like, it's just 10 steps. I just got to take 10 steps. And I just take 10 more steps, then 10 more steps. And it took hours and hours. I mean, it took 8 days actually. But that last day, that was brutal. I mean, really, really tough. And not everyone makes it. But it was because I had so thoroughly identified myself as the type of person that would just not give up. I'm going to just keep doing it no matter what. I posted in my Facebook group, the Last Life Ever group that we have, I'm going to climb Kilimanjaro. I'm going to take a picture at the top. I'm going to share it with you tomorrow. I'm doing everything I can to so thoroughly identify as a person that accomplished it that I couldn't back out. Burn the boats,
It puts you on a side that there's only one option, right? And that option is get there and succeed, right? And that's it.
That's how I was successful in real estate. I was sick and I thought, I don't have a choice. I don't know if I can survive if I don't buy real estate.
It's so good to bet on yourself when you realize that that's an option and actually carry through on it. Because so many people are so worried to bet on themselves and they get stuck with the job, just with all these things. I was talking to a guy earlier. He was like, he had made some investments that were going sideways on him. And he was like, I don't think I'm going to get a full-time job. I'm like, okay, what does that cure? Right? And like, let's go through the path. And he was having a doubt on himself. And I was like, well, do you need to do this? And he looked through it. He's like, no. I was like, so what are we curing here? Is this a reality today? Or is this something you're feeling today that next week's not really a reality, but right now you're feeling crushed, so you're going to go look for jobs, right? And then in a month, you're going to be happy with that job.
I felt that way before. I don't feel like I'm making money. I'm watching my bank account go down instead of up, because I spend a lot of money. I need to make money, right? And then the deals have been tough the last couple of years. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just get a job. But then I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'm not a guy who gets a job. I've burned that bridge too. I'm probably unemployable, honestly, at this point because I'm just too out there.
Happily unemployed is my friend's business right there. That's right in the wheelhouse, though. It's that's our choice. Our choice is to live life on our terms, and it's not for everyone, but for those who are having doubts, right? The opportunity is always there to bet on you. And really, it just takes the same part. You can't think about it and then never do. You got to be inspired by thoughts and then start taking action. And the action, I found that getting to the right action sometimes encounters having to take the wrong action first. And you'd be like, okay, well, don't do that again, right? You touched the stove. Don't do it again, right? Okay, what's another action that's not touching the stove? Okay, let's go to the next one.
Right, that's part of just figuring it out, right? Like we're not going to get this right. But if you launch a rocket ship at the International Space Station, you're going to put a ton of effort in. If you miss by 12,000 miles, it doesn't matter. Because you put the effort in to get into orbit. Now you can just make these little tiny adjustments and just kind of tootle over there. So taking action is the most important first step. You got to do something. And then if you're going to do something, you might as well do something big. And if you're going to do something big, you got to recognize there's a possibility you might fail. But how bad is that really? I don't know. Let's say your goal is to build rockets and launch a rocket to the moon or something. Well, if you fail, no one's going to be like, oh, that guy's terrible, bad business. I mean, they might, but honestly, most people don't care. You're the only one that cares. So if you enjoyed yourself while you were doing it, what difference does it make?
It'd be a much better story. Hey, I'm a guy who tried to create a rocket to the moon than a guy who thought about creating a rocket to the moon, but decided to just build something that went, a little bike that went up to the top of the hill.
Yeah, I mean, and plus, listen, if you feel compelled to build a rocket to the moon, I mean, I would like to go visit the moon. That'd be interesting, I think, but I want to be building rockets. That's not a passion of mine. But if you feel compelled to do that, you, Jason, you're the only person in the whole world that can do that for you. If you don't do it, then you're cheating yourself, but you're probably cheating the world. And you're definitely cheating your family because you're not living in your authentic self. If it's what you're supposed to be doing, then go do it. If you're feeling compelled to do something and you're not doing it, you better have a really good reason you're not doing it. And that reason shouldn't be like, I'm waiting until I have more money.
Yeah. The opportunity, you think it's there, but it disappears.
Yeah, the opportunity goes away. If you don't do the things that you're put here to do, you never do them.
Jeff, you are always fun to talk with. Always inspiring, man. This is awesome. That's it. We will make sure we at least cut it to 2.5 next time. I'm going to put right action in the plan here. But for everyone that can follow your journey, find you, where are we going? Where are we finding you at?
I mean, I'm on all the socials as Jeffrey Holst. I'm really not difficult to find. Like if there aren't any other Jeff Holst, hardly. There's one guy in Australia, that's not me. If you find like a doctor that's working on curing cancer, with my luck, he'll probably cure cancer and I'll have a conflicted view. I'll be like, man, I don't want to have cancer, so that's good.
That's right.
But now I'm not the most famous Jeff Holst anymore, and I'm going to have to like tell people how to find me.
Well, you're the famous one in our book here. So the one in Australia, don't find him. So that's awesome, Jeff. And thank you so much for coming on the show. We will recount because now we're going to hold you to a 700-mile journey or 100,000 kilometer because that's going to be fun to see, man. And I'll have to catch up on those socks. I like farm to feed socks from there. So
I can't promise it'll be next year, but by 2027 for sure. It will happen for sure. I think spring of 2027 is the most likely window of time that I have to plan this stuff around building like catamarans and stuff. I got all this other stuff I'm doing, but I'm going to find it. I'm going to find time to do it.
Action taker, always fulfilling, always inspiring. Jeff, thank you so much for being on the show. For everyone listening, thank you so much for living 100. Let's do this.